is that time of the month again, the last Thursday of the month of June. This one really flew by, in my personal opinion. Today we do have a very, very special guest with us. We have Star from Starfire Live. Is that right, Star? All right, and why don't you go ahead and, if you don't mind moving the mic a little bit closer to you.
Do that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So how are you doing, Star?
I'm in the air conditioning, so I'm great.
It is a really hot one today. I'm not kidding. I am melting outside.
Yeah.
I can't step outside for 5 minutes
Nope.
to do anything at all except for run to my car,
Yep.
But yes, thanks again for tuning into the Farmville Spotlight, shining a light on musicians, artists, and creative talents of our community. Brought to you by North Street Press Club, your go-to destination for great food and drinks, live entertainment in the heart of Farmville. You can check them out at 127 North Street Press on North Street, or call them at 434-392-9444. Well, let's dive into our musician today. Star, what is your earliest memory of music?
So I think the earliest actual memory that I have is sitting on my dad's shoulders at 3 years old at a Jefferson Starship concert, singing "We Built This City" with my arms up in the air, like yelling.
You were there. Wow,
Yeah,
that is incredible. That's an incredible
they were
memory.
they were Starship then, but anyway.
What was up with that name change
Yes,
too, right?
Airplane, Starship,
Yeah.
drop the Jefferson,
Yeah.
whatever. But no, I mean, I've been going to concerts since I was, my mom was pregnant with me, and
Wow.
they were huge music people,
Yeah.
and like I went to concerts as a baby, and I don't remember those, unfortunately, because I've seen the Moody Blues a lot of times. But I don't remember any of them because I was too little.
Yeah.
But the first concert I remember was the Starship one.
Interesting.
And
So,
that was
so your parents big fans of classic music? It sounds like classic rock.
classic rock and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
I guess it was rock back in their day, right? Just
yeah,
like
it wasn't
in
classic. It was just rock.
Yeah, true.
And then, of course, performing, I actually was 2. I don't remember this. I've just heard the video. I mean, I heard the cassette tape that they recorded.
Sure.
But I sang Whitney Houston's Greatest Love of All
Wow.
in front of about 120 people
At 2.
at 2.
Wow.
In key. It's perfect. It's beautiful. I love it.
Talk about the amazing twos. It's usually the terrible twos,
love
but
singing. I've always been a singer.
that's incredible. Did you feel a certain desire to play and sing music, especially growing up with a family that was so heavily involved in music? Was it-
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we music was a huge part of our life. I mean, my parents took us to concerts all the time. I was in chorus in school. My brother was in band. We did a lot of music, and just my dad played guitar, my mom played, and she sang, and we would just sit around and play. That's what we did. You didn't have TV and video games so much back then.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s.
Exactly.
As much.
Yeah. The NES is fun, but it does get old after a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've beat Mario how many times now?
Exactly.
So yeah, let's play some music.
There you go. Well, do you remember, did you gravitate to a certain instrument back then, or when did you first pick up an instrument?
So I played around with piano a little bit, but we only had like a keyboard, so we didn't have a full piano. I remember my grandmother had a grand piano at her house, and I loved going over there to play it, but I wasn't great at it. And I actually didn't start playing guitar until I was a teenager. I was 13 when I started playing. And I was like, oh, this, my dad plays. There's guitars all over my house. So I'm just going to play. And so I started playing, and that's when I started playing and singing. And like I would bring my guitar to school and like play in the lunchroom, and like started
Nice.
playing in class and like doing concerts and stuff for my friends. And they had open mic nights back then even.
Nice.
And I
would
would
sneak
go
out to go to
yeah,
the open mic?
I wouldn't sneak. My parents
Oh,
would take
sure.
me, and my
Okay.
parents
Oh, there
loved
you
it. So I mean, we would go to open mic nights, and it was great. I love singing and playing.
I love the energy at an open mic like this. We're kind of doing a partnership with the press club, actually, with Farmville 15, and there's such a certain atmosphere about open mics. It's between like the nervous performers who are very like sweaty and like anxious, and they're like in the corner like rehearsing and practicing, and then you have the more confident performers who this is nothing. It's just like it's like the universe is displayed in a sense at an open mic. Like you have all the sort of
different kinds.
crazy energies going on. Well, that is incredible. Now, Star, am I wrong in saying you did grow up in Richmond?
Yes.
Okay, you did.
I did.
Okay, in Richmond is a very creative scene as well. They have a
Absolutely.
lot of musicians and poetry and like all sorts of arts. So how do you think growing up in Richmond kind of shaped your musical musical ear?
Well, I grew up in the West End, so it wasn't like downtown, and
Sure.
a lot of the downtown scene was where a lot of the music stuff happened. But I did go down there for, concerts and things. And then as my brother got older, he was actually in a band, and they performed downtown at Alley Cats and a couple other places
Wow.
that are not around anymore, I don't think. But I mean, so music was like huge. I remember my next door neighbor was in a band, and I would go see her because, she was like 5 years older than me,
Yeah.
but she was the cool neighbor with the pink hair, and
Absolutely.
she had the old Carmen Gia that she drove around, and she was in a punk band, and it was so cool. And we would all go, and we'd show up at school with our X's on our hands from going to the concerts as underage kids, and
Of course.
but it was just great, and I loved it. And then of course, playing, singing in chorus and going to competitions and choral style music. I love doing that too. So I loved it.
What about music speaks to you in particular? What do you get out of playing music?
Music is like the universal way to communicate to me. Any emotion that you're going through, I can find a song for that. Any situation, any random 3 words put together, I'll bet you I can start singing a song that's going to remind me something of that. And you don't have to speak the same language even to listen to the music and communicate with music. Somebody can know how you feel based on what you're listening to, maybe, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
At what moment did you decide that music was becoming more of less of a hobby and more of a
So
heavier thing?
So growing up,
Yeah.
it was always my dream. I'm going to be a rock star. That's just what I want to do. I want to do music, and my parents, encouraged that. I went to visit my grandmother in Arizona when I was 13, and while I was there, I went by myself. That was cool. Flew on a plane all by myself
That's
at 13.
exciting.
It was
very
really neat.
exciting moment.
But while,
you must have felt very independent. in
yeah,
that
it was
point.
really cool.
Like,
But while I was gone for 2 weeks. And while I was gone, my parents completely remodeled my room. They built a stage in my corner, put in track lighting, and my mom took every circus magazine and Rolling Stone and all the other magazines I had and made a huge 4x8 foot collage on my wall of all the different artists I loved and all this stuff. I mean, they worked really hard on it. And then they bought me my first Fender Stratocaster.
Wow.
So when I got home, my room was completely redone as a music performing room. And so it was super cool. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a rock star and it's going to be great. And
take me through that moment a little bit slower.
Man.
You come home, you expect everything to be normal.
Yeah.
And you walk into your room.
What
was the first thought you had?
Why is there yellow shag carpet in my room? But that was super cool. And there was a stage and a guitar that was new, and that was so cool, and I loved it. And just, it was like a rock star dream room.
Yeah.
And that's what I grew up with. I mean, my parents were super supportive of that, and they wanted me to follow my dreams and be a rock star. So I didn't immediately do that.
Yeah.
Which, wasn't any, because I didn't love music still. But I got married and decided to have a family.
Sure.
And kids became my life. So I got married at 20 and I got married at 19, and at 20 I had my first daughter. And family, and I still played music. I still sang to my kids, but, chasing the rock star dream, that doesn't happen when you have little kids.
It's hard to take a baby on a tour,
Yeah, I mean, people do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
people do it.
Oh, gosh,
yeah.
John and Corey Cooper of Skillet, they bring their kids with them all over. I mean, they're older now, their kids are, but they did. They toured with their kids, and it's been, I love their story. I love watching them. They're just such a cool family. And, of course, the mom has purple hair like me, so.
Sure.
I love her.
So you put music on the back burner for a little while to spend more times with your kids and family.
Church, kind of just chasing businesses and dreams and building the whole life. I don't know what's going on out there.
No, just people walking by. I was just like,
sorry.
No.
But yeah, that. I still played music.
Sure.
I played in church and I sang and I played guitar with church. I actually learned bass because my church had 3 guitarists, and we were like, we don't need any more guitarists. We need a bassist. And I was like, okay, I got on Craigslist and I bought a bass guitar, and I learned how to play bass, and that's when I learned bass, and I loved it. And it was super fun. I still play it every now and then.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Do you feel like you have a an instrument that is your primary?
Definitely the guitar.
Guitar,
the acoustic
okay.
guitar, yeah.
Yeah, but you are kind of you've experienced with other instruments, bass.
I've tried to play violin.
Sure.
I'm still trying.
How did that go?
Violin has got to be one of the hardest instruments I have ever encountered.
That's what I've heard a lot of people say.
Hard. I mean,
you got to hold it above your shoulder.
If you don't play it just right, it sounds god awful.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play a guitar okay, and it's like, it's tolerable. You play a violin wrong, no,
everybody notices. Yeah, because it's a huge problem for everybody within like hearing.
Yeah, my
hearing
kids
range.
hated it when I was learning how to play guitar. I mean, play violin. They were like, ooh, no, mom.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is something I really do want to get to. Starfire, where does that come from?
I don't think I've ever told anybody the story out loud. And
is it like if it's a thing that we can't
it's
discuss?
Funny. It's really silly.
I'd love to hear it. That'd be cool.
We go to Wendy's after church on Wednesday nights.
Sure.
This is what we used to do with my kids. We would all go to church on Wednesday nights, and then we go to Wendy's. And they ask you for your name when you place your order.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of being boring. So I gave them Starfire as my name. And it stuck. And it just became my name for years.
Wow.
And so now it's legally my middle name.
Incredible. That's awesome.
So I'm like, I started going by Star just because, Starfire is a mouthful and Star's shorter. And Steve's actually the one who shortened it to Star when I was working, because they didn't want to put Starfire on my uniform.
Sure.
So, and it just stuck, and I love it. And
well, that's a very nice memory.
It's unique, and it's me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, going to Wendy's. Yeah. That the weirdest things that just pop in your head, or is that like tied to something else?
We watch the Teen Titans, but it's just cool. It felt like me.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
Still does.
Well, I'm glad I reached the bottom of that mystery. I was very curious. I was like, okay, interesting. Well, let me ask you this, Star. What are some different and unique challenges that you've personally experienced being a performer of a guitar, and what are some different things that you've had challenges with? I mean, obviously, if I had to guess, having a family does kind of, is hard to manage. You can't really play guitar and change a diaper at the same time. Yeah. It's kind of difficult.
No, I always joke. People ask me, they look at my guitar because it's an Ovation with the rounded back, and I always joke, and it's not even really a joke. I told people, it's a lot easier to play an Ovation when you're pregnant. Yeah. Because, your belly's rounded and the guitar's rounded and they fit really nicely together. So I played Ovations when I was pregnant. I really love the guitars. So, making time just to be able to do it. And it's one of those things that playing music is almost like a stress release thing for me. And if I don't do it for a long time, it's like mental constipation. Like if you don't go for a while, I kind of feel that way if I don't play music or get out or sing. Yeah. And for a long time, my only singing was like Sunday mornings at church. Yeah. And that was like the only time I actually got to perform, because the rest of the time I'm homeschooling 5 kids. Yeah. I'm, taking care of a household. I'm running everything here and there. And, I didn't blame them. I didn't resent them or anything for that. That's what I was called to do at that point in my life. But I eventually got back to my music.
So by the time Sunday morning rolled around, you had a lot to kind of
you had
to relieve yourself in the singing. Oh wow, that is a lot. Yeah, that is wow. Well, let me ask you this: how often do you practice and / perform? I would imagine performing, even at like an open mic level, is you're still giving a performance to some extent. So do you spend time alone with your instruments to get to know them better?
It not a lot. Okay. I still and it's not because I don't want to.
Sure, no, absolutely.
It's because my time is it's still. I mean, my kids are older now, but they still need me. I still take the girls to appointments, and we do stuff together and buy groceries and take pets to appointments and yada yada. Yeah. And, do the whole mom thing, and then trying to find time to just chill or eat or shower. Sometimes that stuff takes precedence over playing, but every now and then I'm like, hey, I really want to work on this song, and I'll just grab my guitar and sit on the couch and play until my puppy crawls up on me and makes me put it down.
That's right. As you should put your instrument down with your puppy or cat. ask for your attention. Well, that is really well. So I get that. When it's a possibility, you do practice, but it's not like a set. You don't have a schedule.
No, we joke that my gigs are my practice.
Sure, yeah.
At this point, because I'm busy.
Also, I will have to say this for the record. I feel like having a schedule to practice music is not very rock and roll. You know what I mean? So
yeah, probably not.
Probably not. I wouldn't know, but I just don't think it would be. Well, how is it like performing at open mics? Do you have any stories you would like to talk about?
So, like you were saying earlier about how it's different types of people.
It's
I'm one of those confident, musicians. People are always like, "Oh, I don't know. I'd be so nervous getting up on a microphone in front of people." I'm like, I love this. You know, I did drama and stuff in school.
Sure,
and, solo performances. From like I said, from the time I was about 2. And I have no problem with it.
Sure.
The hardest part at open mic is picking which songs to sing, and a lot of times at like an open mic night, it's more of a let me practice something new that I don't normally do. And honestly, with my schedule recently, I haven't had a chance to go to many open mics. Which I miss my open mic friends.
Sure.
They're great and I love them, and that's where I got started, back into, performing.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, it's just a fun time to go out there and just jam and not feel judged. And that's the great thing. If you're nervous and you don't want, you're scared about performing in front of people, open mic crowds are the best ones to perform in front of, because they're not going to judge you. They're going to support you. They're going to.
Well, some will boo you off the stage too. I've seen that happen a couple of open mics.
I don't know what open mic you're going to.
No, I've been to a couple. Yeah, depending on the performance too.
Yeah.
But there's been they may not boo you, but people will start shuffling out the doors in crowds. Which I've seen happen a couple of times when I was performing. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, by the way. That didn't happen. Well, let me ask you this: do you have a particularly meaningful performance that you ever had? Like maybe you were performing at an open mic, and something about that was very meaningful to you.
My most meaningful open mic performance was definitely the first one that I did. It was last year on Valentine's Day.
Wow.
And I was at Big Lick in Lynchburg at Jody Davis's open mic, and it was Steve and I had gone out to dinner for Valentine's Day, and there was an open mic there, and he's like, "You should go sing." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't bring my guitar." And Jody was like, "You can use my guitar." And I hadn't gotten up and performed, like a secular music outside of doing church stuff in decades probably. But he knew that I played at home every now and then, and he knows how passionate I am about music and how much I love it. And so I did. I got up and I played 3 songs, and it was just like, this is awesome. I love doing this. I forgot how much I love doing this. And he told me I looked so happy. And that's when he was like, we need to do this. This is what you need to do. So I started traveling and going to all these open mics. But that first open mic that, I did at Jody's open mic was just, that was like the spark that reignited all of my love for this.
The passion of it. Yeah. Wow.
Definitely.
Incredible. Let me ask you this. You kind of mentioned about you were not really performing secular music. I know you do a lot of covers of classic rock and roll, and classic music in general. And I think we did touch on this a little bit, but as far as like writing original songs, where do you fall on this?
I'm bad at it. I remember writing songs when I was a teenager, and looking back, like I can remember the songs that I wrote pretty much sounded exactly like the songs that I was inspired by. I mean, it was just like a couple of different chords, and maybe the words were just my own, but there was the same story that the other songs were doing. So I'm like, I'm not very good at writing original music. We're working on it though. My daughters, like my 3rd and 5th daughter, Lacey and Layla, they're both really good at writing. Like Lacey writes words, she writes poetry, and she's really good at that. And then my youngest she's like a musical genius. So we're working on writing some music. Steve's been helping with some like lyrics. We're working on a song that's kind of my story. Right now, it's just hard to get time to work on it. And I guess I don't know. It's just I'm working on it. I'll get there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. Everything in due timing. And well, let me ask you this: Has your music, like your relationship with music, has that changed at all throughout the years? And in a good way or maybe a negative way? How has your relationship with music changed?
I still like my worship music. I still play worship music. I definitely sneak in some stuff in my sets here and there when it's appropriate. Yeah. And I guess the biggest thing that's changed is I've opened myself up to trying things that I wouldn't have normally, tried, or like, this song, I'm an acoustic solo performer who's a female. Yeah. So if you just went by acoustic female performers and I only covered those songs, that would limit me greatly. Yeah. So I've pulled out songs that are, full bands, pop music. I've had to learn country music just because the crowd wants it. I know it's your favorite, but mine too. But I mean, you learn, I've become adaptable to learn things that I wouldn't have necessarily done in the past just for myself. But now that I'm playing to like the public and the crowd, and I don't mind it. I mean, there's a lot of songs that I didn't necessarily like before, but I like them now because I like them when I sing them, at least. I don't know. Yeah. Kind of fun.
So it's a balance of, when it comes to your own music, just finding the time and trying to figure out how to piece things together. Have you ever just wanted to, I don't know, just improv a song? I don't know if musicians do that, but you had a couple of ideas for lyrics that kind of went together.
Not in public.
Yeah, not in
I wouldn't do that in front of people.
Sure.
But I've done that. Like, the biggest thing that'll happen is I'll have a dream, or I'll like wake up with a song in my head that I know isn't a song.
Sure.
Like, yeah. That's cool. And I'll like grab my phone and write it down, or like write down some chords real quick so that I can remember it, or like hum it into my phone so I remember. But not out. That's never happened to me out and about.
Okay.
That I know of.
Okay. Well, no problem. I'm not sure how many musicians have even tried that. It could probably be zero.
Yeah, I guess it's like freestyling.
I'm sure.
Rappers,
yeah, exactly. I'm sure people at open mic want to come prepared and confidence in their material.
There are some people that are just good like that. They can write music on the drop of a hat like that.
Yeah. Is there something unique about performing in the Central Virginia area, in your opinion, that you've noticed, or performing other places?
There's such a good variety of people. Like, people like so many different things, which is why I always say my set list is so varied, and I play so many different styles and types of music. I always kind of introduce myself when I'm at a show with, hey, if you don't hear something you like, just wait around. You probably will, because I play so many different things. Yeah. So, and people are like that. People are just, you'll see somebody singing along maybe, and you're like, I didn't peg them for that kind of person that, would listen to that. But
absolutely.
So,
well, I will say we are getting close to the bottom of the hour, and at the bottom of the hour, we will have you perform some songs. Do you know exactly what you will be performing for us today?
I have a few to pick from.
Sure.
So I don't know exactly which ones I'm going to do yet. I guess I'll just do what feels right when I get there.
Makes sense. Yeah, sure. All right. Well, looking forward to that. That's going to be coming up here in the next 3 or 4 minutes. So tell us, you brought this piece of paper and you have some shows coming up.
Yes.
Would you like to maybe go over some of these performances and talk about them?
Yeah, there's that's it. July is probably one of my busiest months so far.
That's all July. Wow.
That's just July. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think we have 18 shows on there this month.
Wow.
But this is my full-time job now, so it's okay. It's a lot. But yeah, I'm all over the place. Like, I'm in Crew and let's see, Amherst. Where we go. You can go on my Facebook page and look at all of this. Everybody can kind of look at all the events there. But yeah, from the Crew Airfest they're doing on July 1st. That's really cool. I'm not going to go over everything that's on here like specifically, but Amherst, Lynchburg, Blackstone. I play on the Eastern Shore a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with the Eastern Shore, but Cape Charles is one of our favorite places. We've been going there for years. We got married there last month.
Well, it kind of answers my question. I was going to ask you, did you have a favorite venue to perform at? I guess it would be that one.
But I play on the Eastern Shore. I played a bunch of different places.
Sure.
And we have a show there at the Island House, which is a a pretty popular restaurant on the shore, and we do that about once a month. And then I'm all over the place, like Blacksburg, and then like I play at Runkin Pratt once a month up in Smith Mountain Lake for the residents there, and they really love that. That's a different kind of place to do, and we really like being able to connect with them.
Yeah.
I do have quite a few Farmville shows this month. I'm at Catbird over on the rooftop.
Very cool.
Love it up there. It's gonna be hot, but it's okay. Let's see, down 7 Rooftop in Lynchburg. I'm at Charlie's over here. I'm actually singing at a friend's church, doing a fundraiser and crew on July 13th. Danville, back on the Eastern Shore, downtown Lynchburg, 3 Roads, Farmville, Blackstone, and then Waterstone Pizza.
Very cool.
So
and again, you can find all of these on your Facebook page,
Yes.
and that would be Starfire
Live.
Okay,
Yep.
very
Look it
cool.
up, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And YouTube.
Absolutely. All right. Well, very nice. Very nice. I was going to ask you, and we can probably get into this a little bit more after you perform, but I'll pose the question. Have you performed with other musicians together in almost like a band setting? And how do you find that dynamic in your opinion? Do you enjoy that when you're playing with other musicians? Do you kind of lift each other up?
I love it.
Okay.
It doesn't happen often. It's happened at a couple open mics.
Sure.
Where I've, been able to have a couple people either join like on harmonica, or I had one, a drummer and a
Cajon.
mandolin player
Sure.
and a couple things. I mean, that's just neat to kind of collab like that.
Yeah.
I love playing in like a band setting like we did with my worship team at church. I loved that thing. But as far as doing it for a living, I think that bands have a lot more, I don't want to say issues, but
when you involve more than one person, it's already issues.
Yeah.
And it's just not miscommunication, but just like different opinions.
Exactly.
Really. Different people have different visions. Sometimes it's easier to carry that out just being like a solo act. And sometimes bands do break up.
It happens.
It's the unfortunate truth. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of bands breaking up, I noticed you're wearing a Beatles shirt, so there you go. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. But that is going to take us down to the bottom of the hour, so we will jump into a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Starfire live on WFLO. So stay tuned for that. Once again, the Farmville Spotlight brought to you by North Street Press Club, your destination for great foods and drinks in Farmville.
Craving great food and drinks in downtown Farmville? North Street Press Club is the place to be. Enjoy global grub and local vibes, whether you're dining in or relaxing on our patio. Good times are always on tap. Call us at 434-392-9444 for easy pickup or to discuss your catering needs. Let's make your next event delicious.
So good.
Visit North Street Press Club today, where food, drinks, and fun meet.
And we are back to the Farmville Spotlight once again. The Farmville Spotlight is brought to you by North Street Press Club, your destination for great foods and drinks in Farmville, Virginia, located, let's see, I lost my paper. Well, that's okay. We'll get back to that again. Here we go. Yes, located at 127 North Street in downtown Farmville. You can also call them and order some takeout. 434-392-9444 is the number. And we're going to get back into the Farmville Spotlight. And we have Starfire right here, ready to go. Hey, you got some songs?
Sure.
Ready? All right.
Let's go.
Well, whenever you're ready, I'll let you take it away.
All righty.
Hear the clock, it's 6 a.m. I feel so far from where I've been. I've got my eggs, I got my pancakes too. Got my maple syrup, everything but you. I break the yolks and make a smiley face. I kinda like it in my brand new place. Wipe the spots above the mirror, don't leave my keys in the door. Never put wet towels on the floor anymore, 'cause dreams last for so long, even after you're gone. And I know you love me, and soon you will see out for a walk, consoled a cup of coffee, but it didn't want to talk. So I picked up the paper. It was more bad news, more hearts being broken, more people being used. Put on my coat in the pouring rain. I saw a movie, it just wasn't the same, 'cause it was happy, oh, and I was sad, and it made me miss you oh so bad, 'cause dreams last for so long, even after you're gone. And I know you love me, and soon you will see you were meant for me, and I was meant for you. I go about my business, I'm doing fine. Besides, what would I say if I had you on the line? Same old story, not much to say. Hearts are broken every day. I brush my teeth, I put the cap back on. I know you hate it when I leave the light on. Pick a book up and I turn the sheets down, and then I take a deep breath. Good look around, put on my PJs and hop into bed. I'm half alive, but I feel mostly dead. I try and tell myself it'll all be alright. I shouldn't think anymore tonight, 'cause dreams last for so long, even after you're gone. And I know you love me, and soon I know you will see you were meant for me, and I was meant for you. Hey, you were meant for me, and I was meant for you.
Amazing. Great job. That was
Thank you very
much. You have a great voice.
Bring it back to the 90s
All
with
right.
some jewel.
Of course. Of
love
course.
So I heard your favorite artist is Morgan Wallen. So I
No,
figured
that's
I'd-
exactly right. No,
I'm just kidding.
you definitely study the interviewer quite well, I must say.
I tried.
All right. So, what Morgan
But yeah.
Wallen song is that going to
Yeah.
be playing today?
No.
Okay, you're not. Okay,
No,
thank
not
goodness.
actually.
Okay.
Somebody actually asked me if I did any Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
So how come to your show if you do Morgan Wallen? I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay. Okay.
You don't want Morgan Wallen people at a
I'm not
show.
gonna miss you.
You know, exactly.
It's okay.
All right. Do you have some more songs for us?
Yeah, sure. So this is my closer song that
Sure.
I play at every show. So people who've seen me already have heard this a billion times.
Sure.
But it's one of those songs that nobody cares. Mm-hmm. How many times you play it, everybody loves it.
Okay,
So
well, I'm excited to hear
if
what
you,
it is.
If you sing along, it's okay.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute my microphone so, just in case.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. Took the midnight train going anywhere.
Amazing. That's funny. That is very funny.
Thank you. I love it.
Congratulations. Wow, that was absolutely amazing. Well, I do want to ask you, do you have another song? I believe I gave you 3 songs to choose from.
I can do 3.
Do you want to do 3, or do you feel good with that? If that's your closer, I mean, I don't know. You can.
You got more questions for me?
Of course I do. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
can just talk somewhere
All
if you
right.
want.
Well,
That's
sure thing. Well, thank you again for that
Yeah,
performance. As
no
I could tell, singing is, you definitely come from a place of passion
Yes,
with
very
that. So I
much
can
so.
see it on your face and in the way you strum the guitar. It's
love it.
quite great. Yes, absolutely.
you.
I did want to ask you kind of a question related to this little performance right now, actually. And that is, how do you pick songs before going and doing a show? Do you base it kind of off of the audience, what they want? I know we talked about like some people want country music, and sometimes you got to learn country to.
Yeah.
But how do you pick songs?
So I have a very large catalog of songs that I do that
Sure.
I'm, comfortable with, or that I've, practiced enough that I know I can do. And so, I'll make a set list before I go to a show, and yeah, based on like, the area, the people, but usually it's so varied. And I like to, he jokes about it because I like to put in songs that I know are my favorites, like every now and then, just because if I'm playing all this stuff for all these other people, I want to make sure that I get something in that I really like.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs that maybe is really obscure and nobody else knows. But I play it all the time. Like that's my song or something.
Absolutely. I talked to Hayden Von Cannon last month on the Farmville Spotlight, and he also kind of mentioned something similar, being like when he chooses songs, he almost wants to pick music that is almost a little obscure music that like will kind of make people think about the lyrics. So he's very particular, I guess you can say, about like his song choices at open mics and performances, what have you,
Yeah,
So
and a lot of it too depends on how many songs you can pick.
That is true,
If you're
yeah.
only going to pick 2 or 3 songs like an open mic,
Yeah.
you want them to be impactful.
Yeah.
If you've got a 3-hour set, you can throw in some things
Filler,
there that.
or,
But you want to have engagement with your
Sure.
crowd too, so you don't want to play a whole bunch of stuff nobody knows, unless you're trying to get yourself out there and you're playing your original stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's different. But when you're playing to a crowd that's expecting covers, you're gonna play popular songs.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. Well, let me ask you this: do you think performing solo gives you a certain edge on things versus a band setting would probably not allow?
It's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
Because I have a lot more freedom to do things like I want them. I don't have to get any input from anybody else. I can do the song at the tempo I want to do it
Sure.
at, or if I want to throw in a minor chord here and make it sound completely different, great. Whereas with a band, you're set to kind of how you have to do it. However, with a band too, you have people that can cover up for you if you mess up. So it's a little more pressure when it's just you, but it's more freedom, I think, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do want to open up the phone lines real fast. 434-394-0924 is the phone number to call in if you do have a question for Starfire. I'd be happy to take that phone call. Once again, 434-394-0924. So if you have a question or a couple of questions, feel free to call that number in, and you can be live with us on the air. I did want to ask you this other question, though. When performing music, well-recognized music, how do you go about that with your own creative spin? Like, how do you put your own creative edge on these songs?
I've talked to many artists that do what I do, and some of them there's very differing opinions. Some of them are very I want it to be mine, I make it my own, and some of them are like, these people came out to hear the song that they love, you need to do it as close to the original as possible. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle there. There are certain songs that, yes, I try to sound very similar to the original songs just because that's the song that I love. A good example of that is the very first song I ever performed live with my guitar. Like, I think I sat at the lunch table in middle school and performed it in front of all the 7th graders in the middle school, was What's Up by Four Non Blondes.
Sure.
It's one of my absolute favorite songs. And I love Linda Perry. I love her music. I love her singing style. So I tried to sound like her. And like with Jewel, the first song I sang, I can mimic that. But I mean, obviously I don't sound like Steve Perry.
Sure.
So I'm not, so I have to make that my own when I sing that kind of song. So, and that's especially true when you come out of a different genre. Like I recently added Like a Virgin to my set,
Sure, yeah.
which is not an acoustic guitar song.
No,
So I definitely sing that one and make it my own, or like a Katy Perry song that's just like,
Sure, yeah.
I don't have a bunch of synthesizers and things. It's just me. So I can make it my own and do what I want to do with it.
Interesting.
And you either like it or you don't. I mean,
How do you feel like the crowd interacts with that song? Like songs like that are, very different that don't involve just a guitar.
My experience being in the crowd and hearing stuff like that, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I recognize that song, but it's like different.
Yeah.
One of the songs that is really kind of a really good example of like a change from the original, people really like both of them, is the song Mad World, which is originally a Tears for Fears song.
Sure.
And it's so different than the one that got really popular because it came out with like Donnie Darko, and then the kid on The Voice sang it, and it was really, but people are more familiar with the cover than they are with the original
art.
But they're completely different songs, but I love them both.
Yeah.
So it's like you can listen to something like that. So I kind of hope that when I've never personally gotten, oh, well, you ruined that song from anybody. And, if I did, okay, plug your ears. I don't care.
Opinion,
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Sure.
you don't have to listen to it. It's not going to last forever.
Sure.
Nobody's making you do it. But yeah, so.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Also, I believe you are now living in Appomattox area.
So I'm in Concord now.
Sure,
So it's right outside of Appomattox.
Sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Been there for 15-ish years now.
Okay, very nice.
In Appomattox-area.
How has that shaped your musical ear at all?
Added country.
Okay, sure.
That's the biggest
Sure.
thing, I think. But there's a lot of other performers around here that, and they play all different kinds of music. You've got, folk singers and bluegrass singers and, classic rock singers and, country singers and everybody, and they all show up to the same open mic.
Yeah.
And everybody's playing something completely different. So it's like such a variety. So being able to be here around all that variety, I can, be a little varietous.
Is exactly, yeah. I'm sure it kind of helps with the overall collective whole,
Right.
of your performances and everything. So you've been a full-time musician now for about a year, or just
yes,
a year?
A year. And it's actually, today is the 1-year anniversary of my Facebook page.
Wow.
So we started. We were actually. I told you we after the open mics, and he was like, "You need to maybe start doing this full time."
Yeah.
I went to open mics religiously, like
Yeah.
every day I could for months. Just trying to learn from the other people who had done it, and like, just get my name out there or whatever. And he was like, I think we can do this.
Yeah.
And I actually played my first show last year, June 29th, at Thousand Trails Campground, which was really fun. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. So, and now it's everything. I mean, it's full time, and it's what I love, and it's my job, but I love my job.
Yeah. Well, that is important to love your job. Do you have a different relationship now with music since it is more of your job? Do you still get the same pleasure as you used to in playing a song?
I have an amazing husband
Sure.
who literally after every show looks at me and says, "Do you still love it?"
Yeah.
Every single time. He said, if at any given time you don't, we will stop.
Yeah.
And I do. It is my passion. It is literally what I was put on this earth to do, is what I believe.
Incredible.
And I love it. And I don't ever want to stop.
That's great. Well, that is great news. Once again, the phone number is 434-394-0924. Our phone lines are open indeed. So if you have a question for Starfire, feel free to call that in. I did want to ask you, what do you hope your listeners, different various open mics or performances that you hold, what do you want them to walk away with?
Again, like my personal experience with, being in the audience, I like I haven't heard that song in forever, or, oh, I forgot about that and I really loved that, or that really, that gave me cold chills, or wow, that chick's in her 40s and she's doing what she loves, just kind of connect with people on a human level.
Sure.
I love nostalgia, picking up that old song, especially like the weird obscure 90s songs like Eve 6 and stuff.
Sure.
Like people are like, oh wow, I haven't heard that in forever, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting people on that nostalgic level is different and more, I don't know, serious, not serious, but it definitely connects to with them on a deeper level. Do you have a favorite song of all time
That I play or that I listen
that
to?
you listen to? The song that kind of inspires you, and
That's hard.
doesn't have to inspire you. You can just it could be your just favorite song. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like
Yeah.
I always say my favorite song to play is when I play "Don't Stop Believin'," just because
Sure.
it's just kind of passion
And everybody-
in a song, and everybody loves it, and it's great. And then "What's Up" is kind of a just universal.
Yeah.
What's going on, and I think every generation knows that song now,
I'm
which is
sure.
great.
Yeah.
Because I remember it being like, under the obscure songs. Man, but there's so many. I don't know that I could ever pick a favorite song.
Yeah.
It's just a favorite song per mood.
Yeah, no, I get
So,
that.
Like when I'm driving, I like to listen to really loud, fast music. I really like the song "Let It Rock" by Kevin Rudolph.
Interesting choice
But
for
with,
sure.
without the Lil Jon track in it.
Yeah.
I don't like
Oh, you
that
don't
part
like
of
Lil
it.
Jon?
No.
Oh, man,
It kind of takes away from the music a
sorry
little bit.
sorry to hear you feel that way.
No, I mean I don't dislike Lil
Sure,
Jon
sure.
as an art. I just
sure.
that particular
That
song,
song, it kind of-
I like
it
the Kevin Rudolph part.
It takes away versus
it
adds
takes away
to
from
the
the
music.
song to me.
Interesting. All right.
That's my driving song. Or like, Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue.
Sure.
You know,
Something
loud.
and
I like driving
rock and roll.
fast.
I'm going to ask you a question, Star. Looking ahead, where do you want to be in the next 5 years right now?
Okay. So that kind of opens the door for something I did want to mention that I hadn't, mentioned yet. So there's this contest going on right now that I'm in called America's Next Top Hitmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And the elimination, they do an elimination round every week. And this week, tonight, actually, they eliminate down to the top 5
Wow.
in each group. I'm currently in 4th. And it's a completely peer voted thing. People go on and vote every single day. And then they eliminate 5 each week. This is the last week. This week coming up will eliminate, and the person who's in the top spot in each elimination moves on to the finals.
Sure.
And the winner gets like $50,000
Wow.
and the Global Citizen Concert in New York, get to perform there, get an article in a Rolling Stone magazine, and you get to meet Alice Cooper,
That's pretty sick.
which is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
So I kind of, obviously my future isn't dependent on that, but that would definitely impact my future a lot.
Sure, it would.
But as far as in general, I still have, kids in school.
Sure.
So that kind of, we have like basically a 4-year plan because my daughter's going to 9th grade and she's very involved in marching band and music and everything at her school. So we kind of, no big move plans or anything for that, but I still want to be doing this. I would be willing to travel farther if it paid more, I think. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, I this is what I want to do. I mean, I want to pay off my debt and play music.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is the dream, paying off that.
Yeah.
And,
Everybody
doing
loves that
what
part.
you love. Yeah. Well,
Yep.
yeah. That's yeah. Wow. Well, Star, thank you so much for coming in today. Again,
Thank you,
once
Noah.
the phone lines are open, 434-394-0924. We got about a few more minutes left. I know you did kind of plug some shows earlier, but do you have any performances maybe later in the year that you are looking forward to, whether performing or even singing?
Yes, I do have
Okay.
a few of those on both sides.
Wow.
I'm going to see Melissa Etheridge for my birthday in
Oh, wow.
October. I'm super excited about that. That was my surprise birthday present from him. I've got another concert lined up that we've got front row seat tickets to that I can't mention in case my daughter's listening because it's a birthday present for her and she doesn't know
goodness.
about it.
Okay. Keep
But
it under wraps.
that's an exciting one. And then as far as my own shows that I'm playing, I am singing the national anthem at Dr. Pepper Park before Sarah Evans' concert
Wow.
in August. I'm singing the national anthem at the Hillcat Stadium in Lynchburg a couple times in August. I'm excited about those. And then I do Christmas music.
Sure. Okay.
I love Christmas music. So I started doing Christmas shows. We did Christmas in July at Three Roads last year. And that kind of started the idea, hey, I could do Christmas shows.
Yeah.
And so we did. That was my busiest month last year was, December. I did all these Christmas shows everywhere and like Christmas music and all Christmas music. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to the Christmas season.
That is very cool. Are
Yeah.
you doing the Christmas in July again? Or is that just
I don't think Three Roads is doing it this year. So I don't know if I've got a place to plug
Sure.
it in my busy July here where I can find somewhere to play Christmas music. But I'd love to.
And you mentioned that you got a couple of gigs singing the national anthem.
Yes.
Where do you find those gigs at?
So that's my favorite song. I totally forgot when you asked me my favorite.
Sure.
That is my favorite song.
It
My
is your favorite song?
My kids will be like, Mom's favorite song is the Star Spangled Banner.
Interesting.
Because I love singing it. I sang it at a racetrack in Richmond when I was little. I love singing it. I sang it in chorus, obviously. But yeah, the Lynchburg Hillcats baseball stadium, they do. Different singers come in to sing that. And then Dr. Pepper Park has people come in to sing it before each of their shows. And Steve is the amazing man who books everything for me.
Wow.
So he finds all of these things for me and just...
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. We'll touch on one more subject. Now, 2025 is a lot different than like the 90s. I'm talking for musicians and like the way they market themselves.
Oh, yeah.
How has the experience have been for you marketing yourself, doing self-marketing and playing the local shows? And how do you manage to do that? Because I feel like a big part of like being any sort of creative is you have to have a sort of social media presence.
Yes.
And for you, what does that look like, and how do you adapt?
That looks like
that?
my husband is basically what
Okay.
that looks like. He is amazing.
Wow.
And, he manages social media like it's,
Nobody's business. Yeah.
That. I mean,
Yeah.
he's so good at I do a lot of the graphic stuff because I studied
Sure.
graphic design in college, so I do a lot of that. But the way he gets my name out there and posts to different groups and connects with different venues and connects with people and other musicians, and we network and we make connections and things like that. Because in today's age, it's not it's not like it was in the 90s. You can't just go out and play a show and hope somebody hears you or, give somebody your phone number or drop off a mixtape at a studio,
Exactly.
or at a radio station. It's an online presence thing. I mean, we've got a
Sure.
YouTube channel. I haven't quite broken into the I'm going to get a TikTok thing yet.
Sure.
We'll
They've
get
been
there.
threatening to ban it for.
I
don't
know.
how long.
I was like, when I was finally like, I'm going to get a TikTok.
Yeah.
Then they banned it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they didn't. And I was like, whatever.
It's a long journey for TikTok in the U.S. Well, once again, I got to say, Star, I really do appreciate you coming by today. And that's going to conclude today's episode of the Farmville Spotlight. Once again, that's wrapping up the show. Thanks for tuning in and supporting local talent, brought to you by North Street Press Club and your go-to place for great food and drinks and celebrating the arts. We'll see you next time, Star.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any closing words you want to say?
No, I really appreciate WFLO and you guys being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. We'll catch you next month. Goodbye.